this is the location that we actually shoot the ElevatHERS podcast with Booz and Krystal Vega. So what I'm gonna do today is do a quick breakdown of my full setup. In the description, I'll break down all of the equipment that I actually use so that you guys can decide to see what's good for you. But it'll break down the 3 elements, which is the camera, it'll be also the lighting, and also sound. So I don't know if you can hear from the camera, but, and I don't know if it's the mic will let you see, but a lot of echo in here, a lot of things we do in post. What I'm gonna have to do is provide all of the lighting. There's no natural light coming from anywhere. So at some point, we're gonna turn off all the lights so that the temperatures, when we're doing a white balance and things of that nature, that we're not spilling in different types of lighting. That's what we're gonna do right now. Right now, I'm gonna get the rigging done. It's 3 people gonna be sitting on the couch today. So what I try to do is try to set up the rigging so that it's slightly behind them because the field's gonna be over here. We don't have like a backlight. Usually you wanna have like a rim light, but we're not gonna do anything too complicated today. So this is gonna be a great way to manipulate lighting the way you need to given the circumstances. Right, got the aperture 300D. So especially when you're putting something over someone's head, first of all, you want to make sure that you are securing it, because the last thing you want to do is put somebody in a situation where you have a lawsuit involved. So secure it as tightly as you can, and more importantly, use a sandbag. Secure it with a sandbag. Ideally, this will kind of be in the way, but we don't show the legs. We don't show the floor at all when we do shoot it. And what we're using today is going to be an aperture lantern. I think it's called a lantern. If I got it wrong, I'll put it in the description for you guys. It provides full coverage, right? That way we're sure that every single guest is being lit. So that's what I usually use, and that's the reason why I use it. This will be the fill that I use in the front. It's not even a fill, it should be, ideally this would be used for a key as a big light source. But in this particular case, this right here will be the key, and I'll use this to kind of just lighten up all those dark spots because we're gonna turn off all the lights and there's gonna be 3 people on the couch. Get on the center line. This one I have to do like eye level. And it's also a wide lens. This particular lens has a 1635 2.8. So I try to go eye level because especially with a wide angle lens, you get to that point where if it's too high, you start looking down on them. I always recommend, instead of using regular batteries, get you a SmallRig V-mount battery because this will last me 2 shows. The shows are usually 45 minutes each or whatever like that. But before, I would go through like 2 or 3, never reach 3, but sometimes you can go through multiple batteries. I believe these are TSA approved. Anything under 100 volts, you can travel with. You can put it inside of your carry-on and not have to worry about not being able to take it on a plane. And it also have multiple mounts, not only just the V-mount mount, it also has a 8 volt and a 12 volt output, and with a USB-C port as well, and also a USB-A. So these are really handy. Not only does it power the camera, it also powers my Atomas Shinobi screen. So literally, last time I shot, I still have 60%. It's powering not only this, it's powering this as well, so I can monitor. I usually also do like a false color just to make sure that I'm exposing correctly. But for the most part, it's a perfect setup. For the second setup, I'm using a 70-200. I like to use telephoto lenses just so I can snipe it from afar, especially if you have enough space, you have an open enough space, and you're not forced to use any other camera lens. I highly recommend using this because when you talk about angles, it's like playing pool. is about playing with angles. And when you're too close, you either have to go a little too high or a little too low. When you can step from afar, right? You can actually be at eye level and get those intimate shots without also being in their space. So I love using the telephoto lens. In this particular situation, we're using the Sony G Master 7200 2.8. It's a beautiful lens, very, very sharp, especially when you put it on the actual FX3. Is a beautiful combination. And in this particular case, same thing. I'm using another V-mount battery because the last thing you want to do is go through a bunch of batteries or get into the middle of a show and this battery is starting to die. I'm using an old school V-mount I've had over a long period of time. It's made by Edge. It's a Powerbase, and this one is just as powerful. This one in particular, I don't know how many volts this is. If you can, I highly recommend using an external monitor on all of your cameras, just in general, because it's a little easier when you can see the full form of everyone you're shooting. Personally, I'd like to just make sure that I'm doing it on a bigger screen. This one is the Small HD. It's one of those OGs, the originals, and it works incredibly well. Audio is incredibly important. Like I said before, there's a lot of echo. There's a lot of echo in this particular room, and we're gonna do our best in post. And obviously as time goes on, we're able to get like sound panels and things of that nature, or even like blankets and things of that nature. In terms of audio, what you recorded on is incredibly important. At the studio, smaller setups, I use the Zoom H6, right? But you can use either or. If I used this here, it would be perfect, but I usually have this at the office. I like a stationary spot to do everything for the most part. But for this setup, it allows me the ability to see the timing is a little bit more set up better for multiple guests. I can actually put my own sound effects. If I want to do a call in, I can set up the Bluetooth and have someone call in. So it just has more functionality, and I actually just leave it here. So I use the Rode Podcast Pro, the original, but you know there's the second version, the Mark II. Oh, I don't know if it's called a Mark II. We're gonna call it Mark II. That I use. For the mics that I use, these are the Rode Podmics. They're like $100. They're not very expensive. At the studio, you'll notice that I use my Shure mics, but because these are a little bit cheaper, what I use are cloud amplifiers. What these are amps, right? You get a cleaner, nicer sound when you don't have to force your channels all the way up. So get an amplifier, and I love these. I'll have these in the description, but I use the cloud microphones, amplifier, the CL2, so I can make sure I do it in order. So I actually do 1, 2, 3. I shoot them in order so that I can monitor the sounds. And of course, you just want a handy headphone set to make sure that when you're doing a sound check, you make sure you're monitoring the sound. When you get a Rodecaster Pro, make sure that you go into every individual channel and make sure that you adjust the channel volume individually. If you do use a cloud amplifier, you do have to run it through phantom power. So it's not gonna be something that you can just plug in, it's gonna start working. And most important, make sure that every single channel is being recorded individually, okay? Don't get one single audio, so that when we go into our post-production, everyone has their own individual channels. As a professional, if you wanna get more gigs, if you wanna be more professional and provide a better look for your company, you want to get to your shoot. For me, I do 2 hours, right? I'm a big fan of sitting for 30 minutes with nothing to do, just in case something comes up. Like I will literally be done with the full production and I'll just sit for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. That requires a lot of patience. Some people want to get it and just get out immediately. I want to be able to be fully done and sit patiently for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. The last thing you want to do is be rushed. More importantly, you want to be professional, right? There's nothing like a host coming in, especially like today, they have an actual guest. Nothing like walking in, arranging your mic, sound check, last minute things, and you're ready to, are you ready? Go. Last thing you want to do is be running around like, oh, where's the card? Is it formatted? Is this done? Is it done? I recommend a checklist. I use Milanote, of course, but have a checklist that you go through every single individual thing that you gotta do, so that when a guest is here, you're not saying, that's the most embarrassing thing for me, in a situation where now the guest is ready to shoot and they're just sitting there twiddling their fingers. Are we ready to go yet? That's the last thing you want as a professional.
For me, obviously as well, like I love a funny man. I love to laugh, and I think, you know, when you laugh, you release endorphins. You may not always remember what someone said to you, but you always remember
how they made you feel.
That's
so funny.
Yeah,
my
so
boyfriend always
true.
says, like, if a guy talks and makes you laugh, he's like, he gonna laugh you out your drawers.
I don't know. I